everybody. And we're still at home. We didn't move to another location. What we're gonna, I hope you guys enjoyed the orchid thing. Oh yeah, wow. Could I have segued more at the beginning of anything there? So I said I was gonna give one away, and I'm giving this one away. This is, I love it. These orchids came in, I'm gonna give this one away. And this here is a brand new line of terracotta we just brought in, literally imported from Europe. It's imported from Italy. And it's a unique, well, no, it's an Italian terracotta. And it's gorgeous. We also have the red one, but everybody's seen red terracotta. I love this with the salsa. And I'm being a bit cheeky with the salsa because this pot doesn't have a drain hole. So it's a perfect cover pot, but I just think it looks better on the saucer. So I included the saucer too. So again, I'm like, hey, let's give away an orchid, and then Brandy's gonna figure out how to give it away. So we're giving that away. Now yesterday we talked about orchids and dormancy, and it's something I think a lot of people don't realize. With the houseplants, it's not hard to look outside in January and be like, oh yeah, my garden's dormant. There's a foot of snow and it's minus 20. So, yeah, your garden is dormant. Most people I know are dormant. I'm dormant when it's like that. Grab one of those blankies from Decor and curl up in my office and do nothing. But what are your plants doing? What are your house plants doing during that time? And that's a loaded question because it depends on the house plant. You may have an orchid like this that blooms that whole time. Clearly it's not dormant. You might have some spider plants that enter dormancy. You might have some that are producing flowers year round. So you've really got to understand what your house plant is doing. And like any plant that's entering dormancy, if your plant is going through a dormant period, now with a house plant, it's not going to be the same dormancy that you see outside. Again, you cannot mistake a tree in its dormancy in the winter. It has no leaves on it, it's cold, it's snowy. It's very obvious in a dormant period. It might not be so obvious with a house plant. And even though it's dormant, it might even still have a little bit of new growth on it because that plant is naturally, it's not actively growing, but that is still happening. It's you know, you're still going to give it water. You're not going to go out and water your tree. It's frozen solid, but you freeze your house plant solid, you're going to kill it. So a really good example of one is the fiddle leaf fig. And I know a lot of people are familiar with that one. And the fiddle leaf fig, we have one at home, and during the summer, it literally seems like every 2 weeks it's putting out a new leaf. Every 2 to 3 weeks, there's a new leaf popping out, and it's really forcing out all of this growth. In the winter, over the entire winter month, I might see one new leaf. That brown bud at the top might start unfurling, but it is really slow. There isn't much energy happening there at all. The leaves are still green. I still have to water it, but there's not much happening. So you're going to see that active growth, but what you should see is a massive, massive slowdown on it. It shouldn't be exploding with the growth like it does. So as a result of that, a lot of things are going to change. The first being fertilizer. Do not fertilize a dormant plant. It's not going to be able to uptake. So remember what we've always talked about, and that is, you know, again, we're going to go back to the basics here. And hey, you'll notice I'm just randomly grabbing Marcus. Brandy went out and bought me a whole new set of Marcus. Thank you, Brandy. I think she was getting fed up with me grabbing like old markers and getting frustrated, but this doesn't matter what tree I'm talking about. Wow, I got too many choices, Brandy.
Sorry. Sorry, Colin.
What we're looking at here is, this is Johnny Any plant, okay? This is just a standard plant. We're going to draw a tree, okay? So as we know, we've talked about it at great length, And what happens is our light hits the tree up here. Okay? The photosynthesis, we got the stomata, the gas exchange, the CO2, the liquid, etc., etc. And that's sending all of the energy, all of the glucose, which is the energy, down into the roots. Well, meanwhile, our roots, there's our ground level, are uptaking all the nutrition that we're fertilizing, they're processing it all, and they're sending it up. So the leaves, the canopy is constantly growing. As the canopy is growing, sending more energy. That energy makes the stem needs to grow to facilitate all of that. As that's growing, those roots are going deeper, looking for more nutrients to keep it going. So it's just one continuous cycle. Well, we know what we add to that is fertilizer. And that fertilizer, like we've talked about, assists with the diet. It's not everything. A good growing medium, light, etc., etc. We've gone over all of that. Your amendments, your micronutrients, your worm castings, all of that. That is very important. The light is the food, but the fertilizer is that multivitamin. It's the fruit and vegetable serving that really pushes everything to the max. Well, if your roots aren't uptaking at that speed that they do in the sun, and it's funny, I'm talking about it like it's speed, like race cars going. It's actually a very slow process. But compared to when it's in dormancy, it's really fast. It's happening all the time. And even though it is slow, it is continuous cycle. It's a continuous cycle that it's happening. Well, if the plants can't uptake that fertilizer, there's a couple of things happening. And what's essentially happening is now that fertilizer is just hanging around here, literally doing nothing. It's not getting taken in. You can start getting fertilizer burn. Other thing that can happen, if there's warmth, suddenly your plant starts taking it up and now you've created active growth when it shouldn't be actively growing. And then last but not least is you're literally wasting your money. It doesn't need it and you're literally wasting your money by doing damage to the plant. So if you see your plant in a stage of dormancy, don't fertilize. It's that easy. That's your standard rule of thumb. Now, you have an orchid covered in blooms. You might want to fertilize. You got a poinsettia or a Christmas cactus. We're getting into that season. It's covered in blooms. You want to prolong them, fertilize. Then the moment you see it go dormant, stop the fertilizer. Now, another thing we'll have to check in the winter. One thing we know in the summer, yay, our son is big, he's happy, he's wearing his hat, okay? But then in the winter, he's tiny. He still wears a hat, of course, but now he's wearing a toque because it's cold outside and he's sad because he doesn't see us as much, okay? So we're getting less light. Well, obviously that affects our home. We all know that. We put our house lights on at 5 o'clock in the dead of winter. It's pitch black at 5. That has an effect on the plants. Even though they are dormant, they still need help. So if you take that into consideration, a lot of people will go, well, my plant was doing amazing, but it didn't do so good during the winter. So again, we'll use the orchid as a great example. So what we spoke about with the orchid, it doesn't need direct light, it needs indirect, well lit. So you have this in a window, say you've got it in a southeast facing window. Lots of morning sun, the room is bright, not actually in the window, sorry, in a southeast facing room. Don't want it in a window, you don't want the direct light. The room is nice and lit in the morning, very bright and it gets it. Well, now suddenly we're in winter. And Calgary is sunny. We have a ton of sunny days even in the winter, but a lot of places don't. It's cloudy, it's overcast, it's going to snow. Now suddenly he's getting no light. Okay, what do? Do you risk putting him in the window? Now he's going to get hit with direct light when it is it, which we don't want. But too far away from the window, it might not be getting enough light. So it can be a real challenge. Maybe it has to go to a fully west-facing room that gets more surrounding light without it being indirect light. So like I said, I have to move my house plants around. And we were talking about that when we were talking about the artificials. And you might have to say, oh, nope, I got to move this plant. It's not getting enough light here. And start playing them all cluster them all together in one area so that they can get the light. So light plays a very important part as well. Just because your plant did great in one area, spring, summer, and fall, in the winter for a couple of months, you might need to help it out, or you might need to get artificial light. And we're going to talk about that next week. When I say artificial light, I simply mean a grow bulb or something like that. I don't mean artificial as in my incredible picture of light, which is my son. And I realize that his tooth looks exactly like his top.
It does.
I don't know how to draw a tooth.
Looks like a bowler hat.
A bowler, there you go, you guys
Yeah.
a bowler hat in the winter. And then the other thing is water. Your plants are still going to need water, but a common mistake we get from people is they don't change their watering habits. So that would be the equivalent of you in your garden in the spring and the summer never changing your watering habits. So it's raining, it's been raining for 3 days and you're still out there watering your plants. Or it's sunny, it's been sunny for 2 weeks, but you're only watering every 3 days. Literally, we have to adapt to the conditions to give the plants the best type of health. So what I always do when I check my plants, just the other week, I went to water them and I got all frustrated because not every single plant needed water, and I had to literally check every plant. Oh, you need water. Oh, no, you're good. And check the soil. So what you want to do is you want to make sure, oh, that soil is nice and dry. It doesn't need water. We know this orchid is damp, doesn't need water. So you want to play to the conditions. And as your plant is in a stage of dormancy, just like we said here with that fertilizer, if you pour that water in, so you've got your plant, wow, I just keep using the same drawings. My drawings expand as I go. Okay? And I'm not going to use the same blue. So we got pink water this time. You add water and you don't check the level. Well, now your plant roots are sitting in water. And we know one thing, even though your plant might be dormant, your pathogens are not going to be dormant. Your spider mites, your aphids, your fungus, your root rot, that's all that'll live just great in your house because you're keeping the conditions warm for them. So you add that amount of water, suddenly the aphids are like, hey, great, we got this. The root rot is happening. Any kind of pathogen that was in there is going to explode. The plant isn't actively growing, so it's got no capability of defending itself. So we got a lot of that. People going, I don't get it. Like, why are my fungus gnats worse in the winter? That's why. So you really want to keep an eye out for all of those things and look at overwintering your houseplants. It does require a little bit of work, but not a lot. Again, they're dormant, so it's pretty hard to mess it up. So that wraps us up about winterizing houseplants. Wanted to show you this guy. He is so cool. This is, and I've never seen this before. Again, it's always fun to learn new things. That's a Mangave Moonglow. And I read the back. Brandy brought it over to me. And it's a cross between an agave and a manfreda. It's shaped like an agave, but the manfreda side gives it faster growth and unique foliage. It's a succulent, and look, it's easy to care for and low water, and he has a Facebook account. I think that's what that...
What?
I don't know, that's a Facebook symbol. I figure you should get an Instagram, buddy. You're made for it. But anyway, I just wanted to say, even here, we get new plants in that I have never seen before, and I'm like, whoa, what the heck is that? There's a good chance one of these is going to find its way to my office. Too bad. I might give one of these away to myself.
One a day.
Yeah, we already gave away the orchid. And plus, I definitely think I'm going to keep this one. So that wraps us up. We've got Hawaiian Shirt Friday tomorrow. I hope you all had a great week. I hope you had fun learning about what you can do indoors. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye now.